All right, so welcome to the Strategic Business Reporting SBR, and this is the orientation session, basically an introductory section in which I'm going to give you my introduction as well as the introduction of the paper. So first of all, right now we have two candidates. We have Mary Lisa and we have Varsha. So are you taking this, both of you, are you taking this paper for the first time? Kindly write in the chat box. Are you taking it for the first time? First attempt for me. Okay, good. Okay, another quick question. Yes. So you're going to give in this exam in December 22? Yes, all right, good. All right, so welcome to the Strategic Business Reporting SBR, and we are going to prepare for session ending December 22, and I am your tutor, Rashid Hussain. So basically, I am an ACCA member and having a diverse experience of more than a decade of audit firms, industry, and yes, I have been teaching this and similar subjects from last 10 years. So basically the financial reporting and the corporate reporting and the strategic business reporting and other similar papers in different streams in the CA, in the ICW, in the CPA. So I'm teaching this subject in many streams. This subject, by when I say this subject, that means the subject which includes the IES and IFRS in many streams. I'm also teaching the diploma in the financial reporting. So the strategic business reporting is a mixed paper. When I say mixed paper, this is not completely numerical, and again, this is not completely theoretical. So mixed paper means, so you have the numerics in it. That means the calculations. For example, the first paper, the first question, sorry, the first question includes the consolidation. So in the consolidation, they ask you to calculate certain things. For example, sometimes they ask you to calculate the goodwill. Sometimes they ask you regarding the disposal of the subsidiary, calculate the gain and losses. Sometimes when it is the foreign subsidiary, they ask you for certain calculations. Sometimes when it is the consolidated cash flow, they ask you for certain calculations. So we have the calculation thing within the question number one and the other questions as well when it comes to the standards. For example, there's something related to the borrowing cost, IS 23. So first of all, they ask you to calculate the capitalized borrowing cost, and then there may be some other commentary on the same standard or any other standards. It's a mixed paper. We have the numerics in it, the calculations, and then we have the theory in this paper as well. So even within the question number one, or not all the calculations are there. There are some parts. For example, even from the consolidation, they ask you to calculate some figures, and then they need your, for example, commentary on those calculations. Sometime, if that is the case, what would be the difference? If this is the case, what would be the change? And some other parts from, for example, in the IS 21, first of all, they ask you to define the functional currency. And then there is something relevant to determine the functional currency of, for example, of subsidiary sometimes. So it's a mixed numerical and theoretical paper. So there are certain topics, for example, the ethics section we'll be discussing in a while is again from theory, integrated reporting, and for example, the sustainability, the cryptocurrencies, and other topics we have in this exam. So mixed paper. Okay, moving forward. What is the aim of this paper? Now, previously we used to call this paper many years ago, or you can say some years ago, the corporate reporting. Why they have changed the name of this paper, strategic business reporting? Remember the qualification you're doing, the ACCA, takes you to the senior accounting positions. For example, you're working as a finance manager, you're working as a financial controller. And when you're working at the senior levels, strategic level, reporting to the board, working with the board, obviously you're not just doing the work on the spreadsheets. They ask you regarding the treatments of certain transaction in which the company is being involved. For example, a transportation company buying some of the buses on lease. Now they ask you, for example, how to account for that lease transaction of those buses. That transportation company is issuing some loan notes, and they ask you regarding the treatment of those loan notes. They are doing the hedging. So basically they are asking you for the accounting of hedging, hedge accounting. They are buying a company, so they ask you the calculation of that particular transaction. So it's not at that level when you're working with some organization, finance manager, financial controller, or finance director. You are not just doing the calculation, passing the double entries in the systems. No, that is a clerical work done by the junior accountants. You are there to guide them regarding the accounting treatments and the impact of those accounting treatment on the corporate reports, and then the interpretation for the shareholders, and then the comparisons. So do not expect that this paper is just the calculation. The theory they ask you is at the theory one should know at the strategic level when they're working at the strategic level of the organization. So the aim of the syllabus is to discuss, apply, and evaluate the concepts, principles, and practices that underpin the preparation and interpretation of corporate reports in various contexts, including the ethical assessment of management stewardship and information needs of a diverse group of stakeholders. So basically, the areas involved within your exam is simply you have the ethical and professional principles, and then you have the financial reporting framework, which include the standards, and then we have apply professional judgment in the financial reporting performance of the range of entities. Then we have the consolidation. Then we have the interpretation for the stakeholders. For example, sometimes the application of the standard, like for example, if the some standard is changing, what the change in standard will affect the figures for the stakeholders, how they're going to interpret it. And then we have the changes in accounting regulation. For example, we have the accounting for the cryptocurrencies, for example, the accounting for the sustainability, the climate changes, and things like that. So there are certain modern topics that usually becomes part of your exam. And then there are some standards which are changing, the exposure draft, the EDs, and the work of the ISB on that, any new standard coming, any changes coming. So they expect you, to be a person having complete knowledge of the accounting standards and the changings in those accounting standards and what's going on nowadays relevant to those accounting standards, because they consider you not just an ordinary accountant and not just a junior or senior accountant, a person working at the strategic level, they consider you. And obviously similar is the exam over there. Okay, now coming toward the exam pattern. So the exam pattern is, first of all, in the section A, we have two scenario-based questions that will total 50 marks. So within the section A, we have two questions. Okay, the first question, as I said, is relevant to the group accounting. That means preparing the consolidated financial statements. Consolidated financial statements. The first question will be based on the financial statements of the group entities or extracts thereof. Is likely to require consideration of some financial reporting. Candidates should understand that in addition to consideration of the numerical aspects of the group accounting, which can come up to maximum 25 marks, A discussion and explanation of these numbers will also be required, that I've already explained it to you. So in the second question in the section A will require the candidates to consider the reporting implication. They will be giving you a scenario of the mix standards, giving you the scenario of the mix standards, and you need to apply the standard over there. So for example, something relevant to IS 16, something relevant to IS 40 and IFRS 5 and things like that. Again, in the section B, you have further two questions, which may be the scenario or a case study, essay based, and will contain both discursive and computational elements, the theory and the numerics. Could deal with any aspect of the syllabus, but will always include either a full question or part of question that requires appraisal of financial and non-financial information. And from the either the preparers or in the stakeholder perspective, that means in the interpretation. And then you have the current issues element as well, which can be tested as a part, but not a full question. So obviously these areas. So we have, the question number 1 and 2, one from the group accounting, and then some parts, other parts attached to it. And then we have the other things in the section B, which includes the interpretation and the other things. So again, the syllabus is fundamental ethical and professional principles, financial reporting framework. That means the standards, and then the interpretation, and then we have the stakeholders thing, and then we have the group accounting, and then we have the changes in the accounting regulation that I've already explained to you. Okay, now this is the list of the IAS main ones, which almost all of that. If I skip something, that would not be that important. So main standards, you can see. Okay, so IS1 and IS2, IS1 is all about presentation, IS2 is all about inventory, and then this will be for the consolidated cash flow. And then this is accounting policies, changes in accounting estimate, then this is subsequent events. And then we have the income tax. I expect this standard this time, by the way. And then we have the IS 16 property plant equipment, again, something that I expect this time. Employee benefit tested many times. IS 20, I expect this time to come up something with IS 16. 21, although tested many times, but you can see something of this in the question number 1, this time in December 22. Okay, then we have the borrowing cost tested once. Can be tested when it comes to IS 16, 20, so there can be a mixed question. Related party transaction, yes, this is one of my, you can say, one of my guests in this upcoming attempt. And EPS, and then we have impairment of assets, and then we have the provisions. Intangible asset, this is what I can expect this time. If IS 16 is not coming, then there would be IS 38. Investment property, and then we have the agriculture thing. Okay, so the list of IFRS, the share-based payment, again, within the IFRS, this is something important. And then we have the operating segments. This is something important. Financial instruments, IFRS 10, which is from the consolidation. IFRS 11 joint arrangement. This I expect something from this time. And then the fair value measurement, IFRS 15, and then we can expect something from the leases this time. And then we have the IFRS for SME standards. So how much you have studied in F7 exam, but there's no need to be worried that I'll be assuming that you have some certain knowledge. No, I'll not be assuming any knowledge, and we'll be studying from the scratch. But roughly speaking, you have studied up to 60% of the exam. That means you know the standard if you remember F7, but the exam technique is completely different. So my approach is that I will be explaining you each and every standard by using the slides, by giving you a lot of examples, and doing the practice from my question bank. Now, this is something very, very, very exceptional. Why I say exceptional, because not everyone has this thing. My classes include the question bank, because if you see the exam kit, you cannot do the exam kit unless and until you are done with all the standards, because the questions are mixed. But what I have done is I have put an effort, and I have uh, basically distributed the exam kit standard wise, made the kit standardized. Okay, so that when you do each standard, you straight away do the practice. So IS 16, all the question of IS 16, IS 20, all the questions of IS 20, and similarly, all the standards, all the topics extracted from the exam kit, both Kaplan and BPP. So once you are done with the standard or any topic, you straight away go to the question bank and practice those things. But that is exclusive offer for my student. That is not something available to the ones who are not taking my classes. So this is something very exclusive, and so that you can practice right after each and every topic or each and every standard. So why the question bank, not the exam kit? Because my question bank contain both of the kits, which is the Kaplan and the BPP, and the questions are standard wise, topic wise, so that once you do any topic, you just straight away do the practice as well. But remember that this paper is not a piece of cake that you will just, you know, read the notes and you can just appear in the exam. No, this is not the case. You need to understand each and every standard with the concepts, so that if something is coming from that topic in the exam, you can apply your knowledge over there. It's not just the cramming. With learning by heart plus the application of those standards, you need to completely understand that you should know how to apply the standards. If you are unable to apply the standards, then you won't be able to make it in the SBR exam. So you need to understand the application, and for that the practice does matter. So if you're taking the complete package, or that means which includes the recorded classes plus the live classes, then the live classes will benefit you in the additional practice, mocking your assignments and dealing with your queries and concern that you faced, encountered during the recorded sections. So you can ask those things over here. So this is all about the strategic business reporting. Now, what you need to do is start the course, start watching the recordings, and then if you have enrolled for the complete package, then the live classes will be waiting for you from the coming week. And the live classes means that you need to attend those for additional practice and queries. I will be giving you a plan in which I've mentioned that, okay, which practice session will cover how many standards, so that you can watch those recordings accordingly before the live session. And then you just practice more and more over there. So this is all about SBR. And if there's anything, so we have other students as well now. We have, okay, so there will be the recording available of this session. You can ask from the management to provide you in case you have missed it. This is simply the orientation. I've explained you each and everything, but still, if you have any question, you can just write right now in the chat box. I love to answer your queries. Is there any question? We have three to four candidates live right now. So do you have any question? Is there anything you want to ask regarding the SBR? So if you have any, you can write in the chat box. So do you have any question? I've given you the option to unmute yourself. If you want to, you can ask straight away if there's any question. Okay, no, at the moment. Okay, fair enough. Start watching the lectures from the web portal, And when you're in the group of the SBR, once you are enrolled, then I'll give you the information of the live classes and some other. Just know whether prefer calculation heavy papers. Obviously, you need to appear in the exam, whatever, if you like or not, you have to appear in this exam. But for example, I'll if you're regular, I'll try to create your interest in the paper, because this paper is your career. It's not just the paper, it's your career. Accountancy profession is all about financial reporting. If you're weak in this subject, that means you're not a good accountant. So do this paper for passing the exam, as well as becoming a good accountant. And your worth in the market and the industry and the firm or accountancy firm, whatever, is linked to this subject. They ask you the question. If you give them the proper reply, they assume that you are a very good person having a very good knowledge. This paper is a key. All right, see you then. Take care.